Today, I'm going to show you how to produce great vocals in Logic using an easy vocal chain and using primarily stock plugins. So I'm going to use this session for the Chicago freestyle cover I did. If you haven't seen the video yet, go check it out because it'll be a good reference as to what those vocals sound like. I had some people ask me from that how to produce the vocals, what my chain was like, and so that's why I'm making this. So here you have
2:30, baby, won't you meet me by the beach? Too early, maybe later, you can show me things.
All right, so you can already kind of hear it's very spacious. There's solid reverb on there. We'll get to that. But it's a clean vocal still. And then I'll just play a little bit of the second chorus I did because there's harmonies on there.
2:30, baby, won't you meet me by the beach? Too early, maybe later, you can show me things.
Recorded that here. Recorded that in my home studio. Here's the microphone I used. It's an AKG C214. Relatively inexpensive. It's not even a newer version, but the sound still comes out great. I also use this guy, which is the Aston Reflection Filter. Works pretty well. I'll have the links to these items in the description of my video in case you would want to purchase them as well. Okay, so you got that. Now on to the actual vocal chain. First things first, this is just stock pitch correct in Logic. You go to, you see down here, it gives you the menu. You go to pitch correction. And that is what comes up. This is the key I've got going on. This is what worked for me, and my response time is relatively slow because I don't want it to sound super auto-tuney. So I put it around 120. Next, this would be the only non-free, non-stock plugin that I have. But here, let me show you, since I am talking primarily about stock plugins, what it sounds like with a regular compressor. So I just went here, down to Dynamics, Compressor, and I will go ahead and show you what it sounds like with a stock compressor and the UAD compressor turned off.
2:30, baby, won't you meet me by the beach? Too early, maybe later, you can show me things. You know what it is whenever I visit Windy City, you blow me kisses, oh. 2:30, baby, won't you meet me by the beach? Too early, maybe later, you can show me things.
So as you heard there, that's the sound with the stock compressor, and I'm going to put the UAD compressor on just to show you how minimal, if at all, the difference is.
2:30, baby, won't you meet me by the beach? Too early, maybe later, you can show me things.
And the stock compressor.
2:30, baby, won't you meet me by the beach? Too early, maybe later, you can show me.
Okay, so there you go. The stock compressor works just fine. Works great. Moving on to the next compressor that I have on there. This is the TDR, and I'm not even positive how to pronounce it. Kotelnikov. This is a free compressor. I have the threshold pretty much just capping out at -3 in the gain reduction. This is basically all I aim for, and then the makeup gain, I adjust it so that the same volume of the vocal is coming out when I have it off as when I have it on.
2:30, baby, won't you meet me by the beach? Too early, maybe later, you can show me things.
Basically what it does is it helps the vocal bounce in and out a little bit better to give it kind of more texture. Then I have my first EQ. Here's where you find the EQ. Go down here, EQ. Linear phase EQ is what I use. And you go there. Low cut at about 140. And then you have to adjust this based on your vocal. My vocal has a little too much peak around this 380 range, so I took it down about 4 dB. And then again around 1360, took it down almost 5 dB. And then I raised it a little bit in the 2K to 5K range, just to give it a little bit more brightness in the high mid range. And then I also took it down around 150 without making that low cut come too far. So you'll see where the frequency comes.
2:30, baby, won't you meet me by the beach? 2:30, baby, won't you meet me by the beach?
So you can hear a difference, especially with that low cut. You got to make sure that's on there for sure. Next thing I have on there is a de-esser. Go down to Dynamics, de-esser. As you can kind of hear right now, I have a little bit of a lisp. It's not crazy, but you'll notice it now that I said it. And I have the strength go to about -12 dB because my S's are very prominent. So I turn it up a little bit more. If you don't have as prominent S's as I do, you could probably keep it at like -10 dB, -8 dB. Next, I have another EQ, and this is more just a stack on top of that old one. I did a few more cuts here. I took down, as you can see, around 200 hertz, I took it about 6 dB down, and then 265 about -5. What I do when it comes to EQing, take a look at the frequencies.
2:30, baby, won't you meet me by the peak?
And you see the peaks, like right here, where you saw that peak before it just left. That's where you usually want to take it down a bit. So I'll show you how I do it. I kind of like to use a bell and then flatten the areas where it doesn't sound musical. So let me show you.
2:30, baby, won't you meet me by the peak?
See, all that mud.
Too early, maybe later, you can show me things. Blow me kisses, oh.
Yep, there's a peak right there. Don't want that.
But
But that one wasn't as bad, so I didn't turn it down as much as the 200 range. There's your other EQ. Then we have a noise gate. That's very important. Go to dynamics, noise gate right there, turn it on. I have that especially because I live in Chicago. There's a lot of noise even coming out. I have a window right there that you can't see. Recording in a bedroom, you definitely want to have a noise gate on. Again, not a professional studio. I do have sound panels around my room, but you just kind of want to make sure. And if you don't have, again, the setup that I do, it's definitely important to keep that extra noise out. I have it at about -46. It comes in naturally at -50, but you just adjust it appropriately.
2:30, baby, won't you?
Too high and you get nothing.
Too early, maybe let me think.
Too low and you can hear the mouth open and close. Perfect. This is definitely for effect. I take a little bit more lows out because when I had it off, it just felt like there was too much mud still.
2:30, baby, won't you meet me by the peak? Too early, maybe later, you can show me things.
Just cleans it up. I take those low mids out because I have a lot of low mids in my voice. So when I take those out, kind of takes that mud out. Now, this is the reverb, and then this is the delay. With these last two, I bust them because I don't want a ton of I don't want the reverb directly on the vocal, and I don't want the delay directly on the vocal. I want it to be an effect that I add to the vocal. Therefore, I bus it. So to do that, just select a bus, get an unused one. I'm already using these. If I didn't have them yet, I'd say bus 6, and then you throw the effects here instead of here. Reverb, not a stock plugin, but it is a free plugin. TIL. I call it TAL Reverb. This is a very solid reverb. Gives that bigger feel, that bigger sound that I'm like not recording it in a bedroom. Again, a free reverb. Here's the download right here. I'll also include this link in the description. You can download it whether you're on a Windows or a PC. It is solid. I usually kind of leave it where it's at, but this time I didn't want it quite as big. The room size is usually around 0.6. So I dropped it down to 0.49 so it's not too like, I still am recording it in a bedroom. I don't want it to sound like, or try to sound like I'm recording like in a chapel or something. So I took the room size down a bit.
2:30, baby, won't you meet me by the peak? Too early, maybe
See that?
later.
See, without it, all you hear is the delay. It doesn't give as much size to the vocal.
2:30, baby, won't you meet me by the peak? Too early, maybe later.
Gives a lot more size. Also on that reverb bus, I have an EQ. I take a low cut around 170 there just to cut off the little bit of the mud on that reverb. And then finally, just a delay on there. I cut the lows on the delay because I don't want all the muddy, I don't want too much of the below 140 range, and I don't want it to be too high to get in the way of the main vocal. So this is about where my cut is, 3,500 on the high, 140 on the low. I keep these at 100, I keep these at 50. This is 1/8, this is 1/4 note. It just adds more texture to the delay. When you pull up the delay in the first place, it already does these parts for you. All I had to adjust was the low and high cut. That's the main vocal.
2:30, baby.
That's the most important part. Then we'll go to the harmonies, and they're basically the same thing. I just don't have the TDR compressor on there, and I turn the reverb up, the reverb bus. So these harmonies, again, I just have a number of them on here.
2:30, baby, won't you meet me? Too early, maybe later. You know what it is when the love is in. When you say, she gon' make kisses, oh. 30 degrees, way too cold, so many times. Let's see you at the show tonight.
So the reverb, the harmonies are a whole nother beast. If you want a video on that, I can also make that. I'm a big harmony guy. I love my harmonies. So yeah, that's something completely different I can do. And so yeah, as I said, with the harmonies, they're about the same. I just take this track here and I click duplicate the track, and then you can adjust these settings as is. Like I said, I took off this compressor. I didn't feel I needed it. and it saves some processing power. So those are the vocals. So hopefully that's helpful for you guys that are recording in your home studio. Again, just want to make sure that you have a good vocal chain. Again, and I had a lot of people asking me about that. So hopefully that helps you produce better vocals in Logic using, again, primarily stock plugins with a few free plugins as well. If this was a helpful video, please do like and subscribe. It helps me out a ton. And let me know in the comments below if you want any other tutorial videos. I said earlier I can do a video on how I stack my harmonies, videos on production as I'm a producer, other engineering tutorials. I will also have new music coming out soon. So stay tuned with all that, and thank you for watching.